cut it down, but it's so awesome, I'm not going to cut it down. So I'm just going to read through kind of your really impressive bio here. So thanks for joining us tonight. We are really excited to have Darin Olien on our call tonight. He is the co-creator of Shakeology. He is a superfood hunter and founder of Super Life. Darin Olien is the founder of Super Life, is often called the Indiana Jones of superfoods. He's widely recognized exotic superfoods hunter, supplement formulator, and environmental activist who travels the planet discovering new and underutilized medicinal plants. Darin has been around the world and back again on numerous remote field missions to source, formulate, and research the world's greatest edible food sources for optimal health. Today, Darin is a renowned authority of nutrition, hydration, and the potency of foods and herbs, and he works closely with thousands of international farmers, growers, and manufacturers to get high-quality, fair-trade superfood and herbal commodities out into the market. In fact, since 2005, he successfully sourced more than 300 foods and ingredients from around the world, working directly with the people of Peru, Bhutan, the Amazon region, the Himalayas, the South Pacific, and many other countries in Latin America, Asia, and Africa. When Darin couldn't find a nutrient supplement on the market that met his standards for quality and fair trade or was nutritionally dense enough, he worked with a fitness company called Beachbody, that's us, to formulate the popular whole food supplement Shakeology. He also formulated the comprehensive plant-based ultimate reset 21-day detoxification program. His book, Super Life, The 5 Forces That Will Make You Healthy, Fit, and Eternally Awesome, often offers resources for simple lifestyle changes to help you eat healthy, exercise effectively, and experience your best life possible, a super life. Darin is passionate about helping people discover the power of a plant-powered lifestyle. His latest program, Super Life, a 10-day nutrition program, is simple, fad-free start to experiencing how incredible you can feel with over 40 simple flavor-packed recipes, detailed guides, shopping lists, and everything you need to bring the power of plants to your everyday life. In addition to nutrition, Darin also brings his renowned authority on health principles to a personal passion, the development of advanced life-giving home techniques. Our homes are just as important as our healthy super life. For a healthy super life as food and exercise. Darin is Senior Vice President at Fortis Group NV, which leads the way in groundbreaking healthy, sustainable structures and net zero homes. That was like a lot. So I really didn't know how to summarize that, so I apologize for going through that. Darin, I know we sent you over a bunch of questions. Did you want to start going through those, or do you want me to ask them? What works best for you?
Yeah, I can just go through them. I have them right here, and
Okay.
and I can just get through as many as I can.
Yeah.
How's that?
Take it away. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and then just interject if there's any clarity or whatever else, other information you need as I go. No problem.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you. Great to be here. Hope everyone's having a great Sunday. Okay, so the first question, does it matter what time of day you drink Shakeology? First answer, no. Just drink it, get it in your system, get it in your daily habits, however that needs to fit. An old herbalist friend of mine used to say, don't get too caught up in it, just get that good stuff in your body as much as possible. So that's what I would say about that. For me, I love it actually after a workout. And it's light, it's not heavy, and it's fantastic in that way. I also sometimes like to have it for like an afternoon kind of snack or whatever. So whatever you can do to get it in. What's my favorite recipe? You know, I'm so complex in my formulations that now over the years I'm very simple in my Shakeology recipe. And probably my favorite one is to barely add any water, add some ice, add a frozen bunch of blueberries with tropical vegan Shakeology, and then kind of make it as this ice cream bowl. Like it's super thick, And something about that is just incredibly nourishing and nurturing right now. So that's kind of my favorite recipe. And if I, like I was going into a meeting with Beachbody, and it's just simple that way. I maybe will boost it with the greens. I like it cold. So that's fun. And I love adding the fruit aspect of it. So that's it for me, really, in a convenient way. I think I put the complexity in the recipe and the formula itself. So, um, can you drink more than one Shakeology a day? Yes, of course you can. It never was meant to do it consistently. It was meant for that kind of one kind of meal or snack a day. I've done it several times when I've been in the field and couldn't find good food. So I of course will double up on Shakeology then. So my thing is, sleep, drink good water, eat good food, and then add in your superfoods. You need to do that, but don't always skip good food to get a second Shakeology in, but definitely use it if you can't find a good option. That's what I would say about that. Does it matter if you switch back and forth from regular Shakeology to vegan? No, the only way it matters is if it's okay for your body. Some bodies react differently to whey and things like that. So that's the only thing. If it works for your body, then there's no problem with switching back and forth. The next question is, why should I drink Shakeology every day? This is a great and big question because I can attack it from many different aspects. Let me just start by saying, that adage of, they say, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. They say that because it's a whole-based food. It's an apple. It's got 300 different kind of compounds in it. And that's one apple, right? So we have foods that we have grown, supplements we've created from those foods, whole food-based things, and down to powders and tested to make sure that they have the active compounds in it. So we have 60 plus of those things. So if an apple a day keeps the doctor away, then obviously 60 plus superfoods is a really good option to consume on a daily basis because of, there's a few high level reasons, and really why Isabel and myself really set out to take this very seriously when we were formulating, because there's kind of there's missing elements in our daily food consumption by way of the soil. You've heard this maybe before, that the soil is depleted. We've known this since the 1900s. The Congress and the agricultural community did tests, and they knew that soil was absolutely depleted by about 99%. And then, of course, later in the 30s, they did tests on the food itself, and we are massively nutrient deprived just by way of our monocropping. So I say that to say that by way of just eating, let's just not even say standard American diet, let's just say by eating kind of well, that our foods themselves, unless you're growing it and controlling your own soil, are largely nutrient deprived, micronutrient deprived. So we have this gap. In that gap, we've decided to gather some of the greatest botanicals in the world, and that is the ashwagandhas, the schizandras, the gojis. We've traveled, and those foods themselves, those botanicals, those herbs have been used for thousands of years because of their nutrient profiles, because of their nutrient potencies. So because of this gap that we have, we decided to grab these incredible botanicals to fill that void. On top of those reasons, we also have high levels of stress that we've never had before. You can create stress by eating poorly, right? So your body is continuously in a lack of nutrients, and it can create a chain reaction of stress. You can be in a bad relationship for way too long, and it creates this overwhelming amount of stress. There's stress in our air, there's stress in our food, there's toxins that are being emitted all throughout our environment. The point is that we have stress. When our bodies are under stress, they demand more nutrients. So if your bodies are under stress, demanding more nutrients, and the foods themselves are less nutrient abundant, then we really need this idea of superfoods. And superfoods, a quick definition, is just calorie for calorie, you're getting more nutrients jammed in a calorie, say another food, right? If you say a really extreme example, if I take a goji berry and measure it up calorie to calorie to a donut, obviously you're going to have a nutrient density that your body can assimilate and use more so in a goji berry than it would a, dare I say, a toxic laden trans fat donut that has very little of life-giving potential to give to you. So those are the main reasons that we go back to, I'm not the marketing guy. I'm never going to sell Shakeology. I'm just going to give information. So we created it because we're all running around stressed out, nutrient deprived, overfed by food that is less nutrient abundant. So we're overfed, but yet our cells are starving. So that is why this elaborate formula showed up. That is why it wasn't just throwing a bunch of exotic foods together and say, cool, let's make a product. That's not, that's not who has dedicated their lives to this kind of thing. And myself and Isabel, that we said, listen, this is a responsibility that we have to be able to create this catalyst by way of Shakeology. It just so happens it's a hell of a company by the captain of the ship, Carl, that promised us he would allow us to have a nutrient dense shake and not compromise. So that's the real straight up story there. So there's a million reasons why you should drink that every day. Not one of them is about marketing from my point of view. Not one of them is about you making money. My goal for you is so that you, and this is my intimate reason of even being a formulator, even traveling around the world, which may seem exotic, but it's just hard damn work. The reason I do that is because I knew early on in my life that if I steered myself towards daily habits of incredible food, that the chair that I'd be sitting in tomorrow would be a better, stronger chair, so that I then didn't have to worry about this frail, fragile, and weak body. I don't want to worry about this body. I don't know about you guys, but I want to live a life that is not limited by the restrictions of a body. So what if we didn't have restrictions on the body? What if your body didn't have to be void of not having the energy and the strength and the stamina to live the kind of life that you truly want? That's it for me. I don't focus on my body per se. I just have a bunch of habits that are in place, so then I can then dream. So then I can then go after those dreams, so that I can then go and be associated with these farmers around the world and have the time and the resources. So that's the point. The point is not to drink this thing out of a slick marketing idea. The point is, drink this damn stuff, take care of yourself, eat well, sleep well, drink good water, have good relationships, and kick some ass in your life. I mean, that's really, that's just straight up from me to you. That's if you want to know what goes on in me, that's it. That's why I did it. Okay, so I lost my place. Where am I? Okay, so that's my long answer to why you should drink Shakeology every day. How is all that good stuff in Shakeology processed? Good question. And how do they fit all that stuff into a little pouch? So this is a fantastic question and one I love, because obviously, now consider a food, consider a botanicals, consider an herb. Each of those things start by way of growing. They grow in different environments. They're grown differently. They have different growing cycles. They need stress under growing conditions in the way of creating the compounds that are within them. Upon that, upon understanding the botanical, then you have to obviously know how to grow it, know how to cultivate it, and then you have to know how to carefully process it. And largely every one of those ingredients is uniquely taken through its own journey to be able to dehydrate it, to be able to get it suspended out of moisture, because moisture with the compounds creates oxidation and it speeds up the dyeing process. So if you can process these things and keep these compounds in this kind of suspended animation and then test them to make sure that they're actually there. For example, camu, right? It's one of the highest natural sources of vitamin C on the planet. It gets extremely stressed in the Amazon River. It gets flooded. It almost floods entirely, and it's a tree. It's a kind of a tree bush kind of thing. And underwater, can you imagine all the contaminants it gets hit with? So it builds the strength of its own immune system by creating huge amounts of vitamin C in this beautiful little fruit. So if I know that as an herbal guy, then I go, okay, that's very important to preserve. We need to preserve that high amount of vitamin C. So, so once you pick that, you process it, you dry it carefully, you dry it slowly, you dry it in certain temperatures. So then you test it. Of course, you're testing it for the lack of contaminants, the lack of microbiological and all of those things. And once it passes that, you check its fingerprint to make sure that, yes, that powder is camu, and that you register that. So then when it's shipped to our facility, we know that we can hit that with the spectrometer and know that that's the fingerprint. That's the camu. And before we do all that, we test to see the levels of vitamin C to make sure, hey, those are some of the important compounds we want to preserve in that drying process. So that's an example. So once that gets shipped, once that's tested in the country of origin, it gets shipped here, it's fingerprinted, it's quarantined, it goes through all the testing to validate it, to make sure it's safe and stable and the quality is still there. And then it carefully gets processed in the way of mixing carefully with all the other botanicals. Now, even before it got there, we had to test the interaction of the entire formula to make sure that no compounds of other ingredients were, competing with each other, so that you take Shakeology and the total sum is greater than all of these individual parts. And that's really, so I gave you an example of camu just a little bit. So can you imagine then the journey that each one of those, the maca has to go through, the ashwagandha has to go through, the schizandra has to go through, the moringa, the chaga, all of these things have their own way of growing, have their own way of preserving, have their own way of testing for the quality and the protective aspects of it. So that is essentially how all that good stuff gets into that bag, and it shows up as a powder. And don't ever find yourself saying it's a protein shake. It's like me having a Ferrari and saying, hey, check out my car. It's just like, okay, it's a car, but it's, $500,000 and it goes 250 miles an hour. It handles like a NASCAR, and all of the bells and whistles. So don't find yourself talking about the Ferrari of Shakeology and talking like it's a VW bug, because most of the protein shakes, most of them are crap, and it's one spoke on the wheel of the multitude of contribution that Shakeology is giving to your body, from the enzymes to the prebiotics and probiotics supporting their microbiome and your immune systems, to the adaptogens that are helping your body on many levels deal with stressors. And I have one homework for you guys. So I want you to take 5 to 10 minutes. That's it. Grab one adaptogen. You can grab chaga, you can grab maca, you can grab ashwagandha, you can grab schizandra, you can grab even moringa is kind of on the fence of being adaptogen and is an incredible botanical, but just look it up. Look up some of that stuff for yourself. Do some research. And if you can find like a scientific, like little abstract, read it. Like start reading. You don't have to be a nutritionist, and you can maybe just do this once, and maybe next month take another botanical, but be aware of what's going in your mouth. Be aware of the incredible assistance that we have to the plant kingdom, and of course the fungal kingdom by way of the mushrooms and things like that, that these are our allies. These were our first as species, these are our first medicines, right? Before the AMA was created, believe me, we had cures for a lot of stuff. So just do some research. Just look at some of these incredible things that we have in that formula. Okay. So how long someone should expect to be on Shakeology before feeling more regular? It can cause a lot of gas and stuff like that. It's impossible for me to say, because it's all coming from where someone's at. You have all kinds of weird things happening in the modern world right now. We have, not to go off on this, but because of the exposure that we've had to pesticides and herbicides, most of which we've had no choice, because no one told us, the glyphosate is causing all kinds of digestive problems. Any of us who have ever got exposed to that can cause disruptive inflammatory responses in our digestive system. Like I said, we're getting stressed out of our minds. Stress can cause a lot of inflammatory responses and digestive issues. You can be exposed to drugs over the counter, under the counter. Anything can throw off and create demands on your liver, gallbladder, you name it. You can be eating horribly. You can be drinking soda every day and not drinking water. There's all kinds of, so when you get something that has a lot of active compounds, and then of course when you're feeding the good bacteria in your body, there's a time when the changing of the guard has to happen. There's no getting around it. That's why when people do cleanses, it really has to be in how you start one and how you come off of one. That's so incredibly important, because anytime you're changing up habits, you will have this change that will happen just by eating the standard American diet, by eating high sugar. Your microbiome, your environment, your environment that has 10 times the amount of cells than we have human cells in our body are change. It's like, think of it like it's an environment, and if you're eating processed foods and pop and sugar and you're stressed out, it's like clear cutting the richness of the rainforest. So then if you want to get that back, you have to replant that, and you have to rebuild the forest again. So give yourself some time, and also don't do anything ever that causes you physical harm or pain to a degree, that because I can't, there's a million reasons why anything can cause any kind of problems. Like I said before, the digestive disorders that's going on all over the place right now, you can be gathering a list of even healthy foods that you can't even digest anymore because the digestive system has been compromised. Okay, so that's is about as best as I can answer a very specific question. Okay, so are there plans to do any longevity studies on those who have been routinely drinking Shakeology over the years? No, there's not right now. I mean, we're investing a lot of time into the studies right now. We're getting some incredible feedback on some of the research right now on satiation, how the cravings turn off when you start getting obviously the nutrient density that's in Shakeology, which is incredible thing. So if you're satiated and you're not reaching for more food, that's an incredible kind of testimonial to what we're doing with Shakeology. But longevity studies, we haven't yet. I mean, there's several little areas that we're going to continue to go down in terms of setting up these tests. I think the best longevity is just talking to people who have drank it for a long time. I mean, that's really myself included. Hell, I was experimenting it before it was on the market. So technically, I've been drinking it longer than anybody. So that was probably 2006. So it's already been 11 years that I've been drinking that infamous shake. Okay, so any new flavors? I'm sure. We haven't zeroed in on anything yet. With the UK launch, that was some formula changes. So that's actually like doing a new formula because they didn't allow certain ingredients into the country for their FDA reasons and regulations. So we had to do a lot of work with the research and development team and quality assurance team. So right now we're just reeling from that. So no new flavors yet. Any additional ingredients being looked at all the time. If you've checked out my Instagram lately, Super Life Living, you'll see that I'm playing around with a few things, but their R&D team, we're constantly looking. That's a fun thing, actually. I always am. I have a list of 100 different botanicals, some of which can't make it in that form, right? So you have to respect the botanicals. Sometimes they won't. You can't dry it or you can't stabilize it for a powdered form. So it will just have to be shifted to a list that, maybe one day we do a new kind of formula, and then it can be used. But yeah, we're doing a bunch of stuff. I'm looking into a few different palm fruits right now, which is pretty exciting. Any additional, let me see. Hold on. Is there a possibility for a Shakeology bar? Oh yeah. So I hope so. We've started and stopped a few times. It's a tricky space from a stability standpoint. It's a tricky space from an economic standpoint. But a bar is actually one of my loves because that's kind of how I started creating bars and doing things like that. So that would be fantastic. If you want, put some pressure on Carl. and keep asking him. So that would be a gift to me, actually, so I could get back and get into that, because I have some very interesting ideas right now that I haven't really told anyone, but I've just been playing myself. I have a little lab at my house, and I get into it. So yeah, put some pressure on him. Let me see. What's next? What's the next step is for What's the next step for Shakeology? It's always evolving in our knowledge about what the earth can provide and blah, blah, blah. Is there any ingredient he's dying to? Yeah, I mean, it's kind of more of the same, but yeah, I've been looking into this palm fruit called Batua. No one knows about it until you guys do now. But some friends of mine in Iquitos, Peru are working, and they had to create kind of climbing systems in order to get into those palms, and it's helping create economies already for the Peruvian Amazonian people. We just don't know the market right now. It's because it's a different kind of ingredient. Can't really be powdered easily. There's some challenges there, but we're looking into it. But also, the part of my loves too is improving upon ingredients and ingredient processing and growing. So that's always happening. Some of which you guys don't even know, that we're increasing quality all the time. We might have found a better process. We might have found a more efficient drying system. We might, preserving more ingredients. We're working on stability, let me call it stability things within the formula that's super nerdy and exciting to me and the R&D team. So keep in mind that no company will keep up to us in terms of our renovations, in terms of our always pushing the envelope. As you notice, most companies kind of sit with certain formulas. They may change the flavor, but as you can see, we're always improving. Some of my two favorite ingredients on the planet, moringa, because it's so contributive in terms of its nutrients. If you're on an island and you could only pick one superfood, I would pick moringa because of how incredible it is. So we made that available in the formula, which gives me a smile to this day. And then chaga mushrooms. Chaga is one of my favorite botanicals. I named my dog after it. So we got that in the formula. So we are always, and then those that are in the formula, we're always improving upon. Okay. How are we doing? Okay. I have a couple more minutes. So let me see if I can, okay. So this is a hard question, but what would I estimate the cost of Shakeology be? The time, experimenting, traveling, travel guide. Yeah, you kind of laid it out here perfectly, actually. So if you consider that we are not, so in the world of supplements, there is a bunch of people that basically create a commodity company and gather all of the botanicals. And if you wanted to start your own supplement company, you could just call one of those guys up and you'll get the name. You might get the name of a few ingredients and they'll send it to you and it will show it and they will say they tested it for X, Y, and Z. But largely, you don't really know what you're getting. It's kind of a wild, wild west. There's some shysters. There's some people that are just in it for the money, which is why I started traveling, so I could look in the face of the farmers, know where that traveled to get processed, know the processors, know how that was done. So, and then now we have a team. Our quality assurance team travels around the world auditing facilities in all the corners of the globe for individual ingredients, and most of which they fail the first time. So then we have to come in and upgrade their operating systems, their processing systems, to make sure that their quality is being captured in their process. And then we have research and development. We're doing stability testing on the formula, optimizing on the formula, testing of, like I said before, the fingerprinting of the botanical. We're testing for the active compounds that we deem necessary for each individual ingredient. We're putting millions of dollars into quality assurance and research and development all the time. All the time. It's always happening. Not to mention the operations team that has a huge job of managing 60 plus ingredients to make sure that some of those farmers, some of those collectors can scale and help them scale to the capacity to which we're selling Shakeology. It's a huge, huge undertaking. All of those things, all of that travel, all of those testing is a massive amount of money and resources and time. If someone, a small company, wanted to start up a supplement company and call some of these commodity people, and on paper and even maybe on their label, they're saying that they have similar things than us, but they have not spent the time understanding those botanicals, testing those botanicals, and largely wouldn't know where they're truly coming from. Because if you don't know, believe me, it's scary. You know, we had a scary thing happen in the maca industry, and I think Vice actually finally did a report on it. A good friend of mine was in it. The Chinese came in and gave huge amounts of money, 10, 11, 12 times the actual cost of maca. So these maca farmers won the lottery. But what these guys were doing is they were taking real seeds, the real whole bulb of maca, which is illegal by the Peruvian government, and taking it to China. So they came in really fast, spend all this money, and then went to China. And then what happened is they started growing their own, selling it back to the market, labeling it as Peruvian maca. And now we have pesticide, glyphosate, all of this stuff from China, growing maca, trying to come into the market. If you're not doing that testing like we are, you wouldn't know. You'd have no idea. And it happens all the time with so many ingredients. So my whole conclusion to what I think the cost of Shakeology is, I think it's cheap for all of what we do, and from the ingredient journey that each of those ingredients have to go down, from 17,000 feet of maca coming from the Amazon rainforest, the maca is coming from the middle of the sovereign area of China, the Shazanders coming. You know, it's like these things are a journey. This isn't corn in the Midwest, being driven. This is stuff from around the world. So I think Shakeology is cheap compared to what it is that I know about botanicals. Okay, one more question. Let me see. This was a longer one. I know people would struggle with the price. Okay, so I gave you my point of view about that. And what you can do is just continue to reiterate the levels of testing that we go through to make sure and validate everything, because we're being manipulated in our food systems by big pharma. We're being manipulated in the supplement industry, people who just care about money. And if people don't wake up to that and know that these policies and procedures that we have in place are protections to make sure that those botanicals are what they're supposed to be, that's a very, very important investment by you guys, by saying, yes, I'm buying Shakeology, because what you're doing is you're saying yes to a quality system that we are standing for. Okay, one more question. How do you explain how amazing Shakeology is compared to other shakes? Why is it worth the price? I think I covered a lot of that stuff. Again, don't get into the comparing it to protein shakes. Get into the quality story. Get into the quality controls that we have in place. get into, we show up in the countries of origin. We test our ingredients so that they don't have contaminants or compounds that we don't want, and so that they have the quality and the contaminants, or the quality and the ingredients that we do want. We do our testing. So we have set up policies and procedures that in a lot of cases go beyond the organic conversation. And I just was talking to a watch group who wants me to help them out in the food and ingredient industry, and he scared me with the amount of bad dealings organic is happening, and how people are getting paid off and just slapping organic labels on. So my point of view is, I think organic standards are good, but when you have a company that actually does the work themselves, that's a very, very important thing. When we have our eyes and our people showing up, doing the work, that is the difference. Because any way along the line, things can go south, and you have to do the work yourself. Like, again, that's why I started doing what it is that I do. And now we have a company willing to back it and continue to invest in the quality team. We have hundreds and hundreds of people in the R&D, research and development, and operations team. And those people are carrying the baton and making sure that Shakeology is kick-ass. So that's what I would say. Come from that place. And if people are comparing ingredient to ingredient and they don't have from their company someone else who can speak in this way, then they don't really have a product. So, okay. That's it for me.
Thank you. That was amazing. I was just in the chat saying I personally didn't realize how much traveling and testing went into it. So I'm really excited to share that with our customers. So I appreciate you joining us tonight. It was amazing. And guys, we'll have the recording up. I know Whitney recorded it. And we definitely got some insider information. So everyone push Carl for the bar. That's what I learned.
Yeah.
Everyone says thank you in the chat too. So thank you for jumping on a Sunday. I know that that's kind of a crazy day. So I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Passing it forward so that you guys can pass it forward. It's the best ever.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Whitney.
Okay.
Thanks for setting that up, Jillian. That was awesome.
Carrie, oh my God. I thought I sent you, I'm such an idiot. I thought I sent you the link. I'm so sorry. I thought
No problem at all. Sunday night is just like the worst time. Our girls go to bed at 7.